So this is kind of funny because I know it's going to sound odd. Why would somebody call you for help if they're resistant to change? But that actually happens in a bunch of different ways. And just to set the question up, I'm a client of Richard's, and I needed help with my own business. But where the resistance to change came in was with my management team and other business partners. So how do you address that when you have a client that has either their management team, another partner, or even themselves, that when you get in there, they're resistant to the changes that you are suggesting?
Yeah, that's it's interesting because a couple things start to happen. Overcoming the resistance to change with the business owner is much easier than addressing the resistance to change with management. Overcoming the resistance to change with the owner is about being sure that they're comfortable and clear with the vision and the value of it, and the formula we talked about before. You know, what's the level of real dissatisfaction? Are you just a little bit unhappy about the way things are? Are you extremely frustrated with where they are, or are you just fed up? You know, and so figure what is that level of dissatisfaction, and what does that vision look like, and where do you want to go, and what steps do you need to take? If I can take the business owner through that process, we can get them to overcome the resistance to change. Getting them to get the management team over that resistance to change is a whole other matter, because now I have to teach them to do what I just did with them. And so they communicate with their management team about that dissatisfaction, about that vision, about those first steps and why they're so important. But as they begin to do it, it opens a dialogue with that management team. And eventually it sinks in. This has to happen, and here's why. And not too often, but sometimes that vision includes a what if we don't? Mm-hmm. And that sometimes is enough to get management and others to wake up and listen to what's being said about the need for change. Because sometimes the what if we don't do this is scary.
Right.
And unfortunately, fear is a motivator, and sometimes that helps get them there. So really it's trying to help the business owner do what I do in the way of asking questions and communicating with their management team. If I need to, I'll meet with the management team. I just this last week had a client who has a situation very similar to this. He gets it. He knows it. He's very close with his management team. They're personal friends and obviously career colleagues. And he's got a tough message he needs to deliver. And it's not about anybody losing a job. It's not about anything that's financially detrimental to him. It's about the way the business is run. And I can just see the anguish when we're talking about it. He's dreading this conversation with these individuals. And so this week, he's having that conversation. And next Wednesday, I may be able to share with you how well that worked.
Yeah.
But I haven't said this to him, but I know in the back of my mind that sometimes there's a value to somebody outside of the organization sharing the perspective. In this situation, it might be, in this situation, it might be such that, depending on how his conversations this week go, I may offer up, let me talk with him. Let's identify the talking points that you would like communicated, and let me sit down and share with them my perspective. Because sometimes that 50 miles away outside the organization expert is going to get a little more credence than the person you've been working next to for the last 10 years.
Right.
And so it really is situational, and it depends. If the owner is reluctant to change, and we've talked about the need for it, and they just don't want to do it, it usually isn't a system if they don't want to do what I'm suggesting, because typically, while I'll throw ideas out there, it's their choice. So they have to choose. Right. But if they choose, I'm not going to do anything. And I have had that happen. Then I'll fire a client. And I'll tell them, if you're not willing, if you want to get here, and you're not willing to enact any change to get there, I can't help you.
Right.
I can't do it for you. Coachy does the work.
Yeah.
I just help guide it. So Those situations happen. They're few and far between, but when they do, it's just time to part ways.